Howdy, cowboys and cowgirls. This is your sensei, Al Bob. Howdy, howdy. And, how are you? You, I, 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 with me. I'm going soon. This may be my last YouTube for a while, and heading to the deep green. Leaving soon because this week it's going to be sunny and semi-warm. And driving, I like to drive in the sun and the dryness and no rain. And when I get in the woods, it'll take me a day or two to get things somewhat together. And it's best to do that not in the rain, so that'll work out fine. It was supposed to be sunny until Monday, so it'll be good. And then the next few weeks, I probably will just, sit and enjoy the quiet and not be bothered by really anyone. And that's what I'll do. Enjoy the time. And I will enjoy God in my heart and Jesus in my mind, God's love unconditional in my heart, and Jesus' forgiveness unconditional in my head and my mind. And I will read the Bible and I will write my novels. And that'll be good. I will be happy. And since 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I've been here and I have done my best. And so that will be that. I've taken care of all the loose ends and we will move forward. And that is the place for everyone. I was reading the story of Adam and Eve. It's interesting because Adam was all by himself before Elohim made him Eve, right? And that seems like a pretty big oversight. And until you think that Adam wasn't alone, there were other males of his, and again, if there's only guys, that's not a species, What that is a clone. And so then Eve was brought forth from the rib of Adam, and there was a guy and a girl. And then, Elohim said, you can eat anything you want except from that tree over there in the middle of the garden, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And the serpent convinced Eve, hey, you can eat that apple. You won't die. At least not immediately. And so she ate it and she shared it with Adam, and it tasted good and exciting and new. And then they realized they were naked. And then Elohim said, "Hey, you missed. You went against." A lot of things to do, and constantly the story of that is oh, you can stay as long as you want. And then the next day, after he drinks a cup of coffee, oh no, you gotta go, So, and he says, I drank coffee, and you told me it's terrible for me. I hate you. So I'm tired of the seesaw. and I have things to do, right? And I've done everything I came to do. I've tied all the loose ends up, and it's not just John. There are 20 other people and organizations and all kinds of things that I was involved with, and I, went and talked to all of them. Basically, said, "Listen, I'm not going to just take care of you guys. Write you grants, organize you, blah blah blah. I helped you do this so you could get a life, so you could do some good, so you could help people. This organization isn't just here so you get a paycheck. It's here to change, and nothing has happened in this city. Roanoke is de-evolving. Things are worse than they were. There's 6 road things, and they haven't done anything except rip the roads up for 3 years. Even Con Ed would do better than this. Anyway, so that's it for me. At least I'll come and visit, but I'm no longer attached. And I have other things to do. You guys, if you guys want to get the band together and take it on the road, and we can be, the 21st century version of the Dharma Bums. I'm up for something like that. Otherwise, I'm just happy to sit in the woods and write my novels. Very happy and read my books. And so, I have friends who come and visit, and I have a good time. And they're not. It's like today. It was just wore me out. So, I'm through getting worn out. Right. So I'm gonna go back to the woods, get energized and renewed, and I have other things to do, and so I will do them, right? Because that gives me pleasure. I mean, today it was, I had to go to the phone folk and the bank folk and the doctor folk and a few other folk. And in those travels, I met about 8 people that I read their poems and changed their life. And that brings me pleasure when I can see enlightenment in people that I have a one-on-one moment with, and that it does change their life. It's disappointing. My friend John, I care about him, but I've spent a good 7 years trying to get him to move. He doesn't even understand the concept of moving forward. I hate my parents. Blah 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 blah. It's like, come on. Early on, I had nothing. From birth until I was, you know, 32, I had nothing to really have anything to do with my parents. A few times here and there, I'd hang with them, but pretty much I had a life of my own. You know, yes, it was punctuated by catastrophe, but instead of me going, "Oh, I just terrible. Oh, I have the hernia." I mean, it's like getting your toenails clipped. And you know, dying. That's interesting. It's a bigger little thing than you know. I spent the first 10 years of my life pretty much in the hospital. I got murdered by a nun. When I was born, I was murdered by doctors who's supposed to do no harm. And I didn't let that get me down. I let that motivate me to do better. To serve, love, co-creation. All of the challenges I've had have just made my pencil sharper. You know, so I care about John a great deal. Because he is a kind, generous, um, innocent young soul, and but that other side of him is demonically just tedious and tiring, and you know, and you know. So anyway, I don't want to talk about him really. I'm more interested in what you think about where humans came from. To me, that's a more interesting question. Come on, Lindsay. You're a smart young lady. Where do you think humans came from? What do you think the biblical story of Genesis is all about? And why was, you know, Adam and the rest of his guy friends hanging out without any women? What was that about? If that wasn't the representation of a clone, I mean, a species, you got to have a way to reproduce. So, um, and what we're experiencing in Ukraine is a direct um, manifestation of all of this um, basic lying. I mean, there's so many. I mean, probably the most significant event in human history in the last, you know, 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 years is, you know, where do extraterrestrials fit in? Because you look at every religion, there's, the, fiery wheel in the sky, and people, there's tons of sky people. Well, in every culture, they're all over the place. Why is that on the down low? And now, um, in the last 2 or 3 years, 4 years, oh yes, yeah, yeah, there's an alien presence. We're not going to say what it is or what we know about it or anything. Oh, but it could be, a threat. We have to spend billions on weapons for that, and we don't question anything. We don't question. We invaded Iraq on the hunch of weapons of mass destruction. They weren't there. We killed over 6 million people because of that. The neocon wars. I mean, we did not investigate 9/11. We really don't have any. I mean, you should read, um, architects and engineers, you know, truth about 9/11. Those guys are real scientists. The congressional investigation, which it wasn't. It was just a dog and pony show, very similar to the JFK assassination with the magic bullet. Really? And, in the 70s, they had computers good enough to take that recording from that open mic on the police motorcycle that, could figure out that there were, more than X number of shots that came from three different directions. Ergo, if it wasn't just a lone gunman, it was a conspiracy, right? There are a lot of people involved. McCord, the guy who got hung up for the Watergate, he was involved in that, and no one even knows about you know cog, continuity of government. We don't even have after 9/11 we don't have a constitution or a government. We have a unelected element, and everyone who gets elected is just a dog and pony show, you know, and that's what I'd like to talk about. I'd like to hear your opinion of that. What do you think is going on? You um, Richard, um, what's his name? The guy who coined the phrase "breakaway civilization," um, Richard Dolan. He, his most recent shows. He does a show once a week, and the last three or four have been pretty spot on about what's going on. And, dark journalism. Yeah, again, all these folks have their oh silo, their belief structure, their opinion, but at least they're voicing some interesting things that make you go, hmm. And again, that's what this show, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, your sensei, your griot to tell you a story, and don't believe a word I say. Um, you know, that's what we're here to do, is to get you to think. And I truly love the cadre, and you are um, special, and I care about you deeply. But the next, like But what's going to happen when the electricity goes off? What are you guys going to do? I'm going to be out in the woods. I can eat dandelion and bark and hyssop and burdock and a few other things that will be very nice for me. And I have a very nice artesian well that has amazingly pure water that doesn't need electricity to, and I catch water to flush my toilet, and so, I, I got some solar panels for a little bit of light in the man cave, or, for batteries, and so, I got it covered, you know, and I have some stored uh, food stuffs that are good for 25 years. I got enough stuff there to at least last a few years. So I'm okay. And the question is, and I'm a good 40 miles to the closest anybody, so it's not a big deal. And I know everyone in the three counties who all have guns. And we all know that you know I can sew people up, and I'm pretty good at negotiating. I understand physics pretty well. I can tell you what is happening. I've got a nice little solar powered shortwave radio. So, you know, everything, I live like a millionaire on $400, So that's the interesting question. What are you guys doing? Well, the all of this, you know, the Mac is whatever it is. And it was very kind of John to give that as a birthday gift. I like that. And, I'll learn how to use it, and it's nice to have a spare, and etc. So, but I have a sense that all of this is going to go. See you later. Bye. Relatively soon, like this year. All digital everything is going to go. See ya. So no one's taking care of the elderly. I mean, I had nothing really do my folks, for the first 32 years of my life, and then I took care of them, right, for 28 years. I got their diet to be healthy, so they lived longer and happier. I said I'd only be with you if you are having a good day, if we can have fun. And when they were, jerk offs, I didn't get upset. I just had nothing to do with them. And within a year or so, they kind of learned. So, and I was, when my parents died, and it took them about a year and a half to die. I mean, they got to a place where they got sick, and then for about 10 years, they just kind of unwound. And my dad had, some real interesting blood issues that he used to, because he was high on the the pyramid scheme in the military. He's a bird colonel in SAC. He got certain, and he had done certain things, so he was, had access to certain stuff. So he, every 6 months or so, he would, or even less as he got older, he would have all his blood drained out of his body, and would be totally replaced by blood from a 22-year-old. And then he was great. He was good to go for at least 3 months, and then he'd start to wind down again. And as he got close to the end, he it didn't last as long. He was good to go for about 2 months, and then he'd start to wind down. And at the end of the third month, into the fourth month, he needed to get a recharge. And my mom, she had lots of issues. And I'm more the German Irish all my brothers and sisters are more Italian. Darker skin, darker eyes, curly hair. I have super duper straight hair and light brown. And when I was younger, it was, you know, not ginger, but, between brown and blonde. I have super blue eyes. And so I'm more the German. And so my mom, you know, her two families are um, Irish and German, and her German side is a Steinbeck. John Steinbeck, the author, was my mom's second cousin. So he used to come to Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners every so often, and he would, he'd sit at my table, and all my brothers and sisters were teenagers when I was born. So, or at least, 4 years older than me, because there were two that came between the youngest, and then there was one, and that one was born and died, and then the next one was born still, and then me, I was almost murdered by the doctors, and was born, and if it wasn't for Dr. Black, I'd be, along with those guys. And my mom was, she was Roman Catholic, so they stooped a lot, and so they had kids, but they were not really kid-oriented parents. Their children were more like, jewelry, and so the three that were older, they were a good deal older, and my oldest, none of them are left, but when my oldest was oldest, she was in her 90s. My mom died at 103. My dad died at 98. My grandma, my dad's mom, died at 100. So, we got longevity. But the human race is another interesting thing that most people don't realize, that anyone who's alive now will be around. I don't think we're going to get to 9 billion. And I think in about 20, 30 years, the population is going to precipitously drop. And because of environmental reasons, and, the mean temperature just has to go up by 3 degrees, and the planet will be uninhabitable for the human race. Rich people will be able to survive. They'll be in their underground bunkers, but pretty much the rest of the folk, not so much. And so, and we're going to have some serious wars over resources, even though we live on this planet of abundance. I mean, we have technology that take care of all these problems. But the powers that be, don't want to lose that power structure. And money is irrelevant. It's power. And money and power are equivalents. But money is really a joke. It's, our cash is just a joke. So it's all going to be electronic relatively soon. I mean, really. So basically, there's going to be some, in this war in the Ukraine, this is just the excuse for the internet to go down. Instead of, us trading nuclear missiles, they're going to unleash cyber warfare to the point where basically everything will stop. Right? There's a interesting show that was in the early O's called Revolution, and someone in the military-industrial complex was fooling around with exotic technology, and they said, "Oops," and it got rid of electricity. Period. Thing. Nothing worked. Cars, airplanes. Airplanes fell out of the sky. Just everything went dead, and that was it. Right now, machine guns work. Bullets work. They could kill each other pretty well, but they couldn't drive anywhere. They couldn't get around. They had to walk. Had to bring back the steam engine, stuff like that. So we're looking at something similar to that. And yes, there'll be people. If you go watch the film Zardos, it's going to be something between the revolutionary TV show, right, in the early O's, and the movie Zardos, that was in the late 70s, early 80s with Sean Connery. Sean Connery did, after he stopped being 007, he didn't want to be typecast. So he did some pretty interesting movies. He did a movie called A Man Who Would Be King with Michael Caine. That was a very good movie. He did another movie called Time Bandits, did Zardos. He did a film called Everything You Know Is Wrong, or something to that event. And what it truly was, it was made in the late 70s, early 80s, and it was exactly 9/11. And exactly there was, this, Hail Hydra, Bein Meinhardt gang, Nazis working with the Mossad, working with the, Saudi Arabia, working with everybody, and basically to bring down America. And there were Americans who were wanting to bring down America, and they were going to use a nuclear weapon on top of the World Trade Center to bring it down, right? So, and we did use a nuclear weapon per se. We used a high energy weapon from space to take the World Trade Center. That's when you watch those videos, and the buildings get turned into a waterfall of dust. Mostly asbestos, because those buildings were just covered in asbestos. And asbestos ain't a bad building material as long as you got it covered up and the dust can't get anywhere. But when you turn the whole friggin' building into dust and then blow it all through Lower Manhattan, and all those cops and firemen who were digging through it, and the guys who lived down there, like I used to live in Tribeca, and I moved away, in 86. 88, I left New York. But I left Tribeca around 80, 82, maybe 81. And so I actually moved to, Williamsburg, Brooklyn in 76, Anyway, so we are, again, so since basically the Civil War, we have been doing this repeat and wash, history undigested repeats sour, right? Like a bad meal. And it just keeps, every 20, 30 years, just keeps repeating, because we never come to grips with the issues that caused it. The issue that caused JFK to get shot in the head was the same reason that, Lincoln got shot in the head. After the Civil War, when Reconstruction was starting, they tried to slip a bill in that basically turned the United States into a corporate structure. And Lincoln said, we just fought a war over this, and over my dead body will I allow this to happen. And bingo, 7 days, less than a week, 6 days later, after he made that speech, he got shot in the head, right? And it took until 1871, when H.R. 1871 was passed, which turned the federal government into a corporation, right? And it is run under admiralty law. And so if you've ever seen that American flag with the gold fringe around it, that is the representation of the corporate admiralty law driven, not constitutionally law driven. And so and every 20 to 30 years, little chinks of the Constitution have been chinked out. 1871 was a big one, right? And then when Tesla invented free, 0-point energy and had Wardenclyffes and was able to transmit without wires unlimited amounts of current anywhere in the world, along with communications, and J.P. Morgan said, well, that's nice, but we're never doing that because we can't, that's free electricity and we can't make any money out of free electricity. But we are going to have that because that technology has been robust since the 1890s. And our nuclear submarines run on that because they had reactors on board. They'd have to be blowing some really seriously hot water, into the ocean. And all you need is a satellite with infrared detector. Oh, look, there it is. But those submarines are kind of invisible. So submarines are built in a place called the Electric Boat Manufacturing Plant in Connecticut. So all this stuff is straight in front of your face, y'all. And go watch Really Graceful. She does some really great shows. Um, and Dark Journalism, very good. He has a lot of great information. Jimmy Dore, he's passionate about his point of view. And again, all of these folks you should not, take on as a religious belief, but just, the beginning of going down the rabbit hole. And the same is with Dreamy Dreamland, That's what this is about, It's for you to become involved with your own, life, that you are the decider, That's who you are. That's what love's co-creation is. You're there to decide. These glasses aren't that good. I can't really read. Their old Crone story is amazing. Yep. And I keep adding. I mean, all of these stories are the old Crone because she was telling me these things that I'm telling you now. She was telling me in 1969, right? And she was showing me the shamanic connection to it all, right? That everything that you think you know, all the stuff that his story has told you, is more than a lie, It's not even a good story. The Bible is not even a good story. The Quran's not even a good story. I mean, what those books do have, what's important about them, is they're basically, the same thing. The Old Testament, New Testament, the Quran are connected, The Muslim folk are basic Christians on steroids. I would love to see Christians pray 5 times a day, I'd love to see, our Hebrew brothers and sisters pray 5 times a day, I'd love to see our Buddhist brothers and sisters, and the Buddhists are so peaceful. No, not really. They kill a lot of people. They have been doing a pretty good job in Malaysia and other Buddhist-centric environments. And the folks who mess things up of any religion aren't really representing those religions, and because Islam is a religion of peace and generosity and hospitality. Those are the main tenets of Islam, right? Of understanding, appreciation, and empathy. Again, same with Christianity. Jesus is all about unconditional love, right? Not power, not money, not even the book. He didn't want a religion based on a liturgy, and priests, And so, and the Hebrew nation, they read the scroll, the Torah, and rabbis. I mean, I went to a rabbi school. I was, being, tutored to be a rabbi, but I was, tutored to be, a rabbi that focused on the, the esoteric parts of the Hebrew religion, right? You know, so that's what this is all about, and all you have to do is come from your heart, and your head, your mind is just a Rolodex of useless stuff, and the thing, twirling the Rolodex is, a crazed swirl in your head, and anyone who, you know, allows, we, paranormal is right here, right? It's really easy for things you shouldn't think about to get in your head, right? But if you put God's love, and when I say God's love, I don't like using that word, but unconditional love in your heart, and you know, and unconditional forgiveness in your mind, you'll be fine, right? You won't be hearing, because bad thoughts bring bad words out of your mouth. Bad words out of your mouth bring bad actions. Bad actions bring bad events, and bad events bring bad outcomes. So, but good thoughts bring good words, bring good outcomes, and that's what happens, when you're doing your best, you know, and when you're worrying about stuff that doesn't matter, whether the cat rubs your leg and you're supposed to be having sex, the asshole. I mean, please, what are you talking about? These kind of erroneous thoughts. Oh, my parents are sending psychic messages that make me. No, 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 no. Sorry, no, no. And the neighbor is calling you bad names by a quarter mile away, and he's not even saying them. He's just thinking them, and they're. No, no, sorry. That's an illusion. That's the illusion of the ego reality. But you're trying to get. No, my ego is important. Well, yes, we all live in the mud puppet prison, and you don't have to go to jail to be in jail. you know, you can be. As who's that guy who used to be on YouTube? He had the show Prison Planet. Yeah, I mean, you can put yourself in a prison, and I've read some really great books by people who were in the death camps. And instead of being like, oh, I mean, that's a place you would get anxious, being in a death camp. But they wrote amazing music and wrote amazing literature and painted amazing paintings in there, And that's what a real life is about, you know. Now, I'm going to go to bed relatively soon because it's 9:20. I want to get up early and hit the road. And you guys really aren't saying much here. Um, so the new pad is Mac pad. It's like maxi pads. It's it's you know it's a nice gesture, and I'll use it probably because it's lighter and smaller than this thing. And once I learn how to navigate it, I'll be able to use it. I've already kind of figured lots of it out, and I'll think of it more. But I still have to make it get larger because I can't even read the writing. And I love it that they make the letters white on a gray background. Well, that makes real sense. That's why this stuff is irrelevant to me. I'm surrounded by it, so I kind of use it. But when I'm not surrounded by it, you're not going to really hear much from me. You better start doing something with your life. And this is probably going to be the last of the live chats for a while, pretty much. Because I'm going to get out there tomorrow. It's going to take me 3 or 4 days just to get things kind of, regularly comfortable, to reconnect things, put stuff back together, blah, blah, blah. That'll take a bit, And I'm not going nowhere. I'm not spending any money. I'm not doing anything. End of the month, I have a couple of appointments at the end of March. But between now, tomorrow's the 1st of March. So I'm going to get there, and from the 1st of March until end of March, you probably won't hear from me, right? Maybe you might if you go to the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. I might be able to find the email, but probably not, because I need to be on the internet to get that stuff. My phone doesn't really work. My phones have gotten pretty, one, the charger thing doesn't really work that good, and the other one is like has a memory the size of a ant, and so I already took down half the photos that were in it, and it's still not big enough to run YouTube. So it's like I have my limitations, and I don't care, pretty much. So it's up to you guys. That's what this show is. It's like handing it off to you guys. Let's see what you guys do. And and what's interesting about this show is that the majority of the 400 plus who are on the cadre, they're from all over the world. And Dragon has just reappeared. Buddy is off in the hinterland somewhere. But you guys in your own little neighborhoods, start doing stuff. You know, start having book clubs and potluck dinners, and maybe start a coffee shop or a salon or something. When I was a young lad, between the ages of, when did I start doing stuff like that? From 14 until 65, I was always getting stuff happening, right? Doing stuff, getting people excited, having shows, doing art, having an art gallery, having, I've had at least 10 restaurants and built probably 50, and was involved in getting them going and running. And I worked for a guy who owned a thing called Restaurants Associates, and they had a ton of restaurants. And he had me there as, I've been called the minister of fun a number of times. And so he had so Restaurants Associates had about 20 different kinds of restaurants. They had a German restaurant in New York City called Zum Zums, and they had about 40 of those all over the place. And they were real German restaurants, really good German food, but they were, I don't want to say fast food, but, they were made for, you went in and got something to go. But I mean, they had tables you could sit down and have a sit down meal. But, they had Windows on the World that was the high end. And they had the restaurant that's in Central Park, whatever that thing is called. They had a lot of restaurants. They had a couple Henry's or Charlie's or something like that. That was like a yuppie bar. It's like TGIF, but a little higher class. And they had a couple Mexican, and they had a lot of very interesting. And so I worked for them, coming up with ideas for those kind of things. And then they would give me money, and I would go start a restaurant to try it out, see how people like, made it exciting, made it interesting, made it fun, And so he was a very interesting guy. When the oil embargo, so he had the Windows on the World, and every Friday I used to go up there, and he had a great office, right? That was his restaurants here, and up here he had his whole little business for just him. And he had an amazing office. And you came out of that restaurant, there was a staircase to heaven, right? And went up to it was like an apartment too. I mean, he used to stay there, parties there, really fun time. And every Friday, pretty much, not every Friday, but pretty much, I would go up there. We would drink, Patty's, because he had every kind of liquor you could imagine. And Patty's Irish Whiskey was the whiskey that the IRA, that was their gun money, right? So it was illegal to have Patty's in the United States, even though it was probably one of the best Irish whiskeys, better than Bushnell's. And so he loved that, and I loved it. And we would drink Patty's, and we would smoke a blunt or two, and then we would go down. He had his own little dining roomish thing that oversaw the big dining room of Windows on the World, and we'd go and have dinner there, right? And so, and I had worked in their kitchen in the Windows on the World kitchen. a number of times, and in different of his restaurants, I would just like parachute into the restaurant when he needed a manager or when he needed a chef or when he needed, and I wouldn't always stick to um, the protocols that they had. Now, Windows on the World, yes, I was never a chef there. I would just go in there and be a floater in their kitchen, and their kitchen in Windows was amazing, just spot on, really intense. They had three head chefs that were just amazing, and I loved working for them. And they gave me my own special uniform. That was kind of fun, and I would be their floater. Sometimes I would, you know, do the showy thing, preparing the meal, doing the flambe for the people out there in the dining room. So um, it was loads of fun. And that guy, he would just give me money. You know, that was it. And we had a great time. And I would go with him to Florida. I went to Europe with him a number of times. Um, it was truly one of the better things. So when the oil embargo was one Friday, I went up there and he had these binoculars, like naval binoculars, they're like telescopes, but binoculars, right? And it was on a tripod. He goes, "Go look through that thing. Don't touch it. Just walk up and look through it. What do you see?" And I looked through it, and through this, telescopic binoculars, I saw out into the Atlantic, and there were more oil tankers, gigantic oil tankers, just sitting out, 2 miles out in the Atlantic, thousands of them. And this is when we were in the middle of the oil embargo. And that's, it was totally a manufactured event, you know. And before the oil embargo, gasoline was 16 cents a gallon. After the oil embargo, 1972-73, oil was $2.20, give or take. And that's in 1972 dollars. So that was like more like what, in Europe. When I lived in Ireland, I used to spend £8 a liter for gasoline, right? And I had a Rabbit, the VW Rabbit, and so it has been ever since. And when I was at Cooper Union, we made an electric car that was truly amazing. A friend of mine from that project went to General Motors and worked on the Volt. And so he had a lot of great stories about the Volt. And the Volt was a great car. And after the oil embargo and it flowed and they didn't need it anymore, General Motors bought up. I had a friend who had two of those Volts, and he bought them for when they started to wane, for about $1,000 a piece. And General Motors came and found him and said, "We want them back." And he said, "No." "Well, we'll pay you for them." "No." "Well, we'll give you 10,000. No. We'll give you 20,000. No. We'll give you. They paid 100,000 a piece to get those off the road, right? Then they broke up all of the jigs and all of the things they used to manufacture. It's just like the Saturn V. You can't build that booster anymore, period, right? So, that technology is almost 60 years old. And today, modern whoop-de-doo technology, we can't freaking make a Saturn V or a Volt for that matter. And so, right in front of us, I mean, we have watched, since 2000, since Y2K, every 6 months something mind-boggling occurs, and it does. We forget about it. It's like, and I'm old enough to remember all this stuff, and I was trained to remember everything and ask the right questions. And none of you are even having a conversation about any of this. So, you know, So, you know, my story about the old crone, that occurred because I was in the right place at the right time. I wasn't scared. I was supposed to be in this university, but she said, you need to, forget this place. You need to study with me, right? And I could go, oh, I can't do that. I was sent here to do blah, 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 blah. No, okay. And she goes, go talk to the head guy. And not just the guy who was head of the department that I was in, but the guy who was the chancellor of the whole freaking university at Trinity, right? So here I am, just a, nebbish nobody guy. And I walk into his office, and it's, again, perfect timing. There isn't a big line of people. He's not having gigantic meetings, blah, blah, blah. I just kind of walk right in and say, are you Bob? He goes, yes. And I go, the old crone told me that I should come see you. And, she wants me to study with her. And, because I'm here at your university, I've been sent here. And I just want to be respectful to the authority of this. What do you think? Because she talked to you? And I said, yeah, because I've known her 50 years. She never even recognizes that I exist. She said, oh, go. Forget this place, go. How many of you would have done that? How many are you can even leave your crappy jobs that you got to go do something interesting? How many have you, got a passion that you're going to, focus your life on, right? Now, there are many of you who are, in the cadre who do that, and do have a passion, and I can see it, and the folks, who are on the chat right there, which Lynn is the only one, and who's the other guy? I can't read it. T something. The bear, yeah. I know I can feel your energy. You guys want to have that. You have something close to that in your life. What are you doing with that? That's the question, And I've just enumerated a whole bunch of things that you could go deep into here at the chat, but you're talking about what do I think about the Mac? I like it with cheese, So that's kind of where I'm at. It's 59 minutes and 9 seconds. Well, that might be a good time to go to Dreamy Dreamland for me. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. You stay well. Like I said, this may be the last. So go look at all the I got more than 1,500 shows. Go take a look at some of them, right? And if you want to drop something in a PayPal, I sure would appreciate it. Especially me going back to the deep green. I could, there's nobody dropping any, here. I've been in this neck of the wood, for quite a long time, 20 years. And there are a lot of people who have big businesses that I helped. And so whenever I go see them, they always drop a nickel on me, and that's always nice. But out there in the big green, there's nobody's dropping a nickel on your Sensei Al Bob. So it would be really great if you guys could throw something in the old PayPal. Okay. So I love you guys. And, I have to say, I would not be here at the school if I didn't love John, if I didn't feel a great deal of not only caring and love, but empathy. And because I've gone through a great deal, way more than that poor guy has gone through, but he keeps going on the circle. I never, I just kept moving forward, Something really terrible happened here. I wasn't going to keep going at it. I just kept going this way, forward movement into something better. And something better always happened, And I've had so many amazing women in my life because I was, whatever woman I was with. I had no fantasies about having sex with other things or if I'm having dinner with that person in a restaurant. And built lots of restaurants. So I went to lots. I was a restaurant guy, and lots of nightclubs and lots of places of interestingness that I helped bring forth. There's that scene from Goodfellas, right, where our friend hooks up with the Jewish girl and he wants to impress her, so he takes her to one of these underground nightclubs. I had a bunch of those, where Tony Bennett is singing, and he comes in and they bring the table through the crowd with the chairs, put it there, put the tablecloth on, put the light, and he's sitting right there with Tony Bennett. Tony, hey, there's my friend. There were a number of nightclubs and especially black and gay clubs that I helped manifest and bring forth. And, I had total carte blanche to walk into. And you want to impress, some young lady that you just meet, you take them to that. So I would take, I would be with a woman and I would be with them, right? And if I went to a place like that and all these other amazingly, especially the nightclubs, I could, I built and serviced and could, just walk in and not have to wait online. Yeah. And I was the dude, right? I met a New Yorker today and I explained where I grew up and what I did. And she was like, maybe, I'm 70, in my mid 70s, early 70s. She's like in her 40s. And she said, went to a number of nightclubs that I built. And she goes, I heard of you. I heard of the dude. Yeah. And it was pretty amazing to, here I am in Roanoke, Virginia, and this, and this woman's black as black can be. And we had an amazing conversation about everything, right? I read her palm and it knocked her down, right? And then all the people who worked at this place, I read all their poems. How can you do that? I said, practice makes perfect. And, so I affected all those people. And like I said, everybody was black there. And I stayed there for a good hour, just talking to everyone, reading their poems, hanging out it was a beautiful day. They had this nice bench right at the front door where the sun hit it. And they had a nice little, and we were, and they had their little, they were working, but they knew, that place was, in the black community, the place where everyone hangs is the barbershop. And it's a place of business. People get their hair cut, right? But that's where it's socialized. And in this time, it's like the phone service guys, right? And so, they were helping people with their phones, but the majority of people, they were just, and other phone service places, they have one person who doesn't care, treats everyone like crap, right? This place had a good 6 people working there who knew what they were doing. So, and there was never more than 3, clients who needed a hand. And so this one girl got my phone working, right? Well, okay. Then I had another kind of brand not under there, nickel, and she goes, well, I can't help you with that phone. I said, well, it's lunchtime. Why don't we go for lunch? And she goes, yeah, that's great. And there was a New York style luncheon place down the road. So I jumped in her car. We went there. And she ended up buying me a sandwich and playing with my phone. And we just had the greatest time. And this place has a bakery too. So she bought a bunch of cookies and brought them back to the rest of the folk. And we drank coffee. They had a very nice coffee machine. So I spent like a good 3 hours. I read about 10 people. And what was truly amazing was that everybody there was black, and from the hood. And I just fit right in, and everyone loved me. And I kept, so there were 2 New Yorkers, and I told them where I lived, and they go, that's Harlem. You grew up in Harlem? I said, yeah. 125th Street. I lived above 125th off of Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard, right next to Malcolm X's temple. And that's what he called it, the temple. You can call it, what is Islamic folk call their folk, the not ashram, the what was the Islamic term for the church? Anyway, so we had a great old time, right? And we were, talking about all kinds of stuff, right? And we gone on the N word, and they just laughed at it. They said you know, and everyone knew what I knew, that word meant stupid people, not black folk, stupid people. And most black people aren't stupid people. Because when you're oppressed, you smarten up pretty quickly. So anyway, I just had the best of time with that community at that moment, right? And they just loved the heck out of me, right? And so they fixed both. This woman fixed both my phones, and we went to this New York place and had lunch. It was meatloaf Monday, so I got and I didn't. I got that because it was the cheapest thing, and I love meatloaf, and I just ate little bits. She goes, "You don't eat much, do I?" I said, "No, this will last me a few days, right?" And I brought it home, and John was like, "Oh, restaurant," and he bought whatchamacallit food, manufactured food, and anyway, and there's a whole culture being created of folk who don't cook anymore, or never cooked, and now they send out for all their meals. That's a whole culture. But when the silicon chip gets fried either by an ex-flare or whatever, um, people aren't going to be able to dial out and have somebody deliver their meals. They won't even be able to get to the supermarket. So it's going to be an interesting time, and it won't last that long because it's going to be used to restructure the socioeconomic goings on, right? And we are all on this planet going to be whipped into the Chinese version of, the social rating, right? Where you don't own anything, right? You don't own a car, you don't own a house, you don't own anything. Whether you work or don't work, you'll get X from the state. And there's a great book called Poor Dad, Rich Dad, right? And basically, the essence is the dynamic, whether you work for a salary or you are an entrepreneur, meaning you're not looking for a paycheck, you're looking for this passionate thing you've got going, right? So, and that's kind of what I've been my whole life, a person who was not didn't really get I never had a job. I had clients, right? I had products, I created things. I was an entrepreneur, and I always did well by those things. And and so I never worked. I had these projects that I created and co-created, and they were my passion at the time. Just like the women in my life were my passion. I never was looking to sneak around. I always had the most amazing girlfriend, so why would I want to sneak around? And they would last. Those relationships would last in intensity and veracity and virility, and were ethically amazing. Um, and then we would go our separate ways. We'd stay friends. I still have close to 20 female friends that I've known. Kim Romano, Debbie Soul, from third grade, and they came a long way, baby, and so that's what life's about. So I don't want to die. I can't stay my life. I want to kill myself. No, I am here. I was given this life. That was a gift given to me. And I respect that to the point where I do something with that gift, right? Every day and every way I co-create loves, right? Co-creation, I do my best, and that's what I do with my life. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, because everything I do, I enjoy doing, right? So, um, there can be frustrating moments, and usually comes with dealing with morons who think their money is more powerful than understanding what's going on. So let's see. Oh, 1 hour and 5 minutes and 45 seconds. So when it hits 55 seconds, I'm going to be out of here. Okay. So I love you guys. You stay well. Let's say a little prayer. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and the hour of death. Amen. I love you guys. Maybe it depends on when I wake up tomorrow morning. Maybe I'll give you a little sign off, but I have a sense that this may be my last show for a little bit, for at least a week or two or three, somewhere in there. At least a week, maybe a week and a half, maybe 14 days, something like that. So anyway, because, I've spent all my money for food on John, and I have to wait till the 16th to be able to buy food. So how about throwing something in the PayPal? That would be nice. But, I'm not a big, I've been eating less and less. And, I've been losing weight, and, it all depends on what you eat. So I've been eating mostly drinking water, and, and I do have a cup of coffee every day, but most, in the first thing in the morning, I drink fennel, which is almost as good as coffee. It tastes kind of like coffee. And then I will, go. I've been my favorite breakfast spot. I go, and if I have my little sausage, egg, and cheese croissant with a cup of coffee, that's only $7. I can it's what you pay at McDonald's. You got a piece of crap, and this coffee is really good. So it gives me as much coffee, and I bring my other big cup with the fennel in it and pour some of the coffee in that and get another coffee. So I'll have 2 cups, one with fennel and coffee and the other with coffee. And that usually lasts me, all day. And it's, if you drink coffee without cream, just straight up black and no sugar, it's actually kind of good for your body. If you drink more than 2 to 3 cups a day, then you're going to, be like a squirrel on crack, and you'll be anxious, and you'll be fidgety, and you'll be annoyed, and Now there are other people I know. I mean, my mom used to drink like 40 gallons of coffee a frigging day, and she didn't, show any of that. Though, if you pissed her off, she'd kill you. So I kill you, motherfucker! I kill you. So what can I say? Okay, it's time to go. So remember, the dude awake 42 at Gmail, if you want to get a hold of me or throw something in the old PayPal. And thank you for all those who do. There's 4 people who are pretty religious. Once a month, they send me something. And that's great. It usually takes care of just a little edge. But now I'm going into the deep green. I won't be seeing anyone that will lay a nickel on me. And anyway, I got this, more than the Mac. I bought this at see, the only good thing about Walmart is when they have shit on sale. So, and I buy all my clothes in the women's section because, in the, large women's section, I get this. And this is the most comfy thing with a nice zipper and pockets down and below that have zippers so I won't lose stuff. And, yes, I didn't lose anything. And so, so this cost $3. It was on sale. It was the original thing was $18, but they wanted to get rid of it. It's soon to be spring, so they had. And this red coat that I bought 2 years ago is like falling apart. But I bought this for $6 back in the day. So I was looking for another version of that. And there was one, but instead of the $62, it was $21. So I said, don't quite have enough. Maybe I'll see it around for like $8. If it goes below 10, I'll buy it. But anyway, it was the only one left on the rack of that. It was really nice, really long, and had big hood, and it was quite nice. So anyway, that's what I look for at Walmart's. And I went to the Walmart guy to play with my Walmart phone, and I read his palm, and he started to cry. When the person starts to cry, that's when you kind of know you hit pay dirt. So anyway, I gotta go. What time is it now? Oh, it's still 9-ish, right? 9:53. So yes, I'm gonna go. I love you guys. You stay well. I'll talk to you soon. But you do your best. Be your best. Move forward. It loves co-creation. Don't get stuck in the laundry list of, okay?